We live. Guts Discipleship. We are live.
Hello.
Let's go. Good, I want to say afternoon. Good noon, Guts Church. It is exactly noon. Man, I'd like to start by saying thank you, Pastor Jeremy, for giving us this time. Normally, Pastor Jeremy Bedell, or Dubs, as we all love to call him, hosts this. And so thank you, Pastor Jeremy. Thank you, Pastor Bell and Sandy, for doing this and allowing us to take over today. Guts Discipleship Live.
What's up, GYC students? I see some of you guys jump in.
Okay.
Miss you so much.
Before we introduce ourselves, if you don't know who we are, we'll introduce ourselves in just a moment. I do want to go over just some family business, some things going on here at Guts Church. If this is your first time jumping on, we go live every Thursday at noon. It's Guts Discipleship Live. This is a chance for us to speak to you guys. And I apologize if I'm not looking at everyone. We've got Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube here. So I'll try to make my way around. But we go live every Thursday. And this is just an opportunity for us to teach on different subjects and to have other guests in to be able to share a word. We have so many incredibly sharp people in our church. And this just gives an amazing opportunity for us to just kind of spread the wealth and allow those people to speak into your lives as being a part of Guts Church. And so this is an incredible resource for you every single week. And then we'll post it after that, but we'll be on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure that you follow at Guts Church, subscribe to Guts Church on YouTube, and man, just go on your lunch break on Thursday afternoon and pop open your lunch and join us here. And you get to hear from new people all the time. And so what an incredible opportunity. Also, last thing is this Sunday, we're back.
Yay!
We're back in church and we're so excited. I want you guys to know I've been able to obviously sit in the staff meetings and in the prep meetings for this Sunday. And we are taking every precaution necessary to make sure you have an incredible experience, but also a very safe and clean experience while you're here. We've got sanitization. How do you say it?
Just keep going.
Sanitization.
Things are sanitized.
Sanitization stations set up all around the church. We have G's on the floor marking what social distancing is. If you don't know, we've got those set up. Our coffee bar is taking crazy precautions on only serving pre-prepared drinks that aren't cross-contaminated. And our bathrooms are clean. We'll have attendants in there wiping everything down. We're wiping down counters. We have an area for families to sit in our North Sanctuary where we will have family tables where you can sit with your children and they can color, and they'll have balloons. We'll have things for them to make sure that they are entertained while you get to receive the word. And again, you're all sitting together in our sanctuary. Our seats are separated. We're sitting families together. And so
that's going to be the fun room. I feel like we just call that the fun room.
North Sanctuary, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
The kids' room.
For sure. And then also, if you've never been to our Guts X room upstairs, we have a private room upstairs that will be streaming the service as well. So if you really want to take a precaution and be here but not be around a lot of people, you're more than welcome to walk up there and be a part of that as well. I think someone's knocking down a wall in the office next to us. But anyways, and we're so excited to be here again this Sunday. And so I'm going to let Heather kind of talk about who we are and why we're here.
Yeah. So we are Dustin and Heather Miller. We are the Guts Youth Directors.
Let's go, Guts Youth, GYC.
Yes. And so we get to hang out with our high schoolers every week. We are missing them like crazy right now, counting down until we can be back together. But we absolutely love what we get to do. We love hanging out with the students. We have been around Guts for 3 years now. Well, he was here before, moved back to St. Louis, and then we moved back here 3 years ago. We've been married for about 8 years. We have 3 little ones that are 6, 4, and 1.5. So this quarantine has been super exciting at our house. Just finished homeschooling, and praise the Lord, it is done. Today was the first day of summer, so kids have been partying hard. But yeah, we're just excited to be here. I see Pastor Jeremy has jumped on YouTube. Thanks again, Pastor Debs, for just kind of giving us the platform today. We are excited. Today, we get to talk to you about relationships, which I think is our favorite thing to talk about.
Yes.
There's so many different dynamics and aspects. We're going to hit on as many as we can. We had a lot of really great questions come in about single life, dating life, coworkers, marriage, kids, all kinds of stuff. So we're going to kind of hit as much as we can in this hour. And I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be applicable to you no matter where you are at. So thanks for having us.
Yeah. I have seen a couple questions come through about service. Yes, we are having live service in the building Sunday.
Yeah.
We will have masks and gloves and keep our distance, but we're going to have an incredible service for you Sunday. So,
and that's at 9:30 and 11 at
9:30
the
and 11 in
campus.
Tulsa, 11 o'clock in Skytook and Sepulveda.
Yeah.
So all campuses are having services. 9:30 and 11 in Tulsa, just 11 o'clock at Skytook and Sepulveda. So no matter what campus you go to, you are free to visit your campus. Please don't fall. Please don't fall.
Or if you're not comfortable coming in the building physically, then you can still jump in online. Yep. They can pull in the parking lot and listen on the radio. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. You can listen on the radio while you're here. You can host a watch party. If you feel safer doing that in your home, you can just watch from home. Whatever you're comfortable with, we are trying to meet every need. And so make sure you guys jump on this Sunday and have church with the church family.
And yeah, well, let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's go ahead and get going.
Yeah, let's do it. So why are we talking about relationships? One, we love to talk about relationships. We're married, and I think we have a great marriage. She probably disagrees sometimes. I feel like as guys, we're just like, yeah, it's great. Everything's great. Perfect. It's like, also, if you're an Enneagram person, she's a 1, I'm a 7. So I'm like, everything's great. It's always great. We're fighting. It's great. It's a great fight. It's like whatever. And she tends to look at the details a little more. And but I think the reason we want to talk about relationships is because we're in quarantine. And so everything is under a magnifying glass. If you're married, your marriage is under a magnifying glass. If you have children, you're parenting and your children are under a magnifying glass.
Because you're together 24/7.
Exactly. If you're dating, if you're single, your singleness is under a magnifying glass, right? You've got to spend more time with yourself now than ever. There's no distractions. There's no avoiding what's happening. There's no avoiding what's going on in your home. There's no avoiding what's going on with your spouse or your kids or being single or whatever. And so with our feet being held to the fire right now, we want to make sure that we take the time to say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how to have a healthy relationship and navigate that through being stuck in a house together. Right. Or, some of you guys, you both have worked jobs and, let's say you're married. You both have worked jobs and you never spent this much time together in the life of your marriage. And so we want to talk about that a little bit. And as we said, we went to Instagram this week and just got some filtered questions from some of you guys. We're going to keep it anonymous, but we are going to go through and talk about some of these.
I'm also thinking about like our students who are at home doing school from home. And I mean, my friendships, I'm sure your friendships just have a different dynamic right now because we're not face to face. And so we're being required to be a lot more intentional with reaching out to our friends and just staying in each other's worlds. Working from home too, like working remotely, you have to communicate differently. You have to just kind of get to know your coworkers on a different level. So across the board, our relationships are really being put to the test during this season. So I think there's a lot we could talk about. So
yeah, for sure. And the one thing I want to, speaking of the magnifying glass and all of that, I think that quarantine is a true test of and shows the true colors of like, are you really healthy? Are you really healthy? Is your relationship really healthy? Is your parenting style really healthy? Is your fuse shorter than you thought it was?
For sure.
It is. I'll answer that. For us, it is. And so let's get to it. You want to take the first question?
Yes. Okay. One of the questions that we had come in was, how do you love or just tolerate a very negative coworker?
It's interesting now because you might not be in the office as much now. A lot of people are working from home. Or furloughed or something like that. And so, but let's say you maybe have a more personal interaction with coworkers than ever before because you're on Zoom, you're able to communicate with them. You can't avoid them in the office. There's no dodging them now. You've got to communicate with them. And so one of the things I would say is when there's somebody negative in your life, we need to always bring the positive. Right. The Bible calls us a light, right? Like we're a city set on a hill, Matthew 5. So we need to make sure that we are bringing light to every single situation. And one of my favorite verses is in Romans 12, and it says, if it's possible, which that means it's not, as much as it depends on you, which means it doesn't always depend on you, live at peace with all men. Live peaceably among all men. And so that's a great starting place for me, where it's like, okay, is it possible? Sure. Does it depend on me? sure, then I need to live at peace. And so as much as it's possible and as much as it depends on me, I'm going to make sure that I live at peace with that person.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that I speak life when they speak death. I'm going to be positive when they are negative. And that's kind of the approach I would take with someone that's getting under your skin or someone that's being negative.
Yeah, definitely. And I heard one time that the only way to keep your life free of people problems is to keep your life free of people. And obviously that's not where we want to be. We, like you just said, we're called to be the light. And so we need to constantly be surrounding ourselves with people. So with that comes people problems, and we have to be willing to show extra grace. We're always the people that take the grace approach. We always give people chance after chance. And I mean, that's what we're called to do.
Yep. Where there are no oxen, the stables are clean. Guess what? We love dirty stables because oxen means people, and people means souls getting saved. And
right.
so we want to make sure that we care about people and take care of people and are a great example of the life of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that means stepping in a lot of junk sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. So worth it though.
Yeah, for sure.
What's our next question?
Next question. The best advice. Oh, I love talking to single people. The best advice for single people in the church who don't want to date right now. There you go.
I mean, don't rush it. Enjoy the season.
Hey.
The single season is one that you're never going to get back. I mean, once you're married, marriage is amazing. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Yep. But the single season is so special too. And there's just so much, soul searching that happens in such a different dynamic because it's you and it's God, and that's it. And so I would say don't rush that season. I know it's easy when maybe you look around and your friends are getting married or your friends are having kids and you so badly want to be in that season, but the Bible tells us not to be envious. And that's really what it comes down to, is envy. And so, I mean, at its simplest form, I think that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 7 that it's actually better to be single. Right. And I remember being in Bible school, living with like three other dudes, so there's four of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. It stunk. It was nasty. We stayed up way too late. We took way too many naps. We fought all the time, and then we're best friends all the time.
That's why the Lord brought me into his life.
Yeah, we used to have days where we called lazy days, where we'd all call into work and we would all just take naps. It's just lazy day. It's like we come home from school, we're tired, it's like lazy day. Yeah, lazy day. And so probably why none of us could hold down a job, But here's the deal. I remember saying in college, these are the best days of our life. Let's live it up. Let's have a great time. Let's love being single. Now, I didn't realize how great my life would be once I got married and had kids. But at that time, I thought, man, this is the greatest time of my life. Mm-hmm. I get to do whatever I want, eat whatever I want, eat however much I want, even if it was like 3 McDoubles and 2 McChickens at one sitting, it's fine, I got to gain as much weight as I wanted. Nobody cared. And he gained a lot. A lot. I loved my single life though. I really, and I feel like I really did take it in, and then it made marriage that much sweeter because I wasn't missing out on anything. Mm-hmm. It was like, man, then once we started dating, it was like, man, I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to find that one, and I'm ready to be married, and I was ready to have kids, even though it was early. Like we weren't expecting that, we got married, and then 6 weeks later found out we were pregnant. But I would just say, enjoy it. Don't let envy creep in. Don't let anybody else determine when you're going to be ready. Yeah. You don't need somebody else right now. You are a whole person in and of yourself. Allow God to allow yourself to be a whole person in God. Mm-hmm. Don't allow somebody else to define you. Mm-hmm. And don't allow somebody else to prove your worth. You are worthy and you are a whole person. So, man, enjoy that and live it up. Have a great time.
Well, don't you think that in today's society, I mean, there's just so many things people try to find their identity in, and relationships are one of them. Like who are you with? What is your status? And I mean, we can't find our identity in anything besides the Lord.
Yeah. And it's not easy. To be a little transparent, we live in a hookup culture.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy to be a man or woman of God and live a single life because people either expect that you're dating around, or people are, think you're weird, or people are like, why haven't you settled down? Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, nothing's wrong with you. You should enjoy that life, stay pure, and live the life that God's called you to live. You don't need to check in with anybody else about your single life. Enjoy being single and
be picky.
Don't
settle.
Picky. Listen, when I met Heather, she had a list of 25 things backed up with scripture, which one of them was like, a man that enjoys giving me back rubs. And somehow
Yes.
she backed that up with
That is
scripture.
so important
I
to
have
me.
no idea how, but I do enjoy giving back rubs. So
I mean, it makes all the difference, though. This is the person that, if you're single and you're waiting for that person, this is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah.
And so don't settle. I
Yeah.
mean, don't settle. If you're dating someone and you realize this isn't the person, get out. Stop wasting your time. There's no reason to waste any more time. Move on.
Yeah. So speaking of now dating, transitioning from single life to dating, one of the questions was, how do you guard your heart while dating?
Oh, I love that.
How do you protect yourself while you're dating somebody else? What does a healthy dating relationship look like? Can I go off for a minute?
Yeah, go on.
I'm gonna go off for a minute, okay? Like I said, this is one of my favorite subjects. I taught on this at local church. I've taught on this in GYC with our young adults. I love to talk about dating because I think that dating, when done well, is an incredible platform for marriage, right? But dating is very different than being engaged or being married.
Yeah.
I'm not going to break this down completely. If you want my notes, I'll send them to you. Ask for them. But our God is a Trinity, right? He's a three-part being: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. He revealed himself to us in three parts. He revealed himself as the Father in the Old Testament. He revealed himself as the Son at the beginning of the New Testament, and he revealed himself as the Holy Spirit. We had to digest God in three parts. He didn't just say, here I am, here's everything. He allowed us to take him in, okay? We are made in his image, spirit, soul, and body. We are a three-part being as well, just like God was. Relationships, it's funny that God parallels a marriage to his relationship with us, because a relationship, at least in the Western culture, is three parts. You date, you're engaged, and you're married. We are three parts. Our relationship is three parts. We shouldn't give all three parts of ourselves away in the first part of a relationship. Okay.
That's so good.
Dating is for the soul, your mind, your will, your emotions. That's what your soul is. Okay. I'm not giving my spirit away. I'm not giving my body away. I am giving away my soul. I am thinking about you. I'm sharing, expressing with you what's in my mind, what I like to think about, what I like to do.
Getting to know each other.
Yes. My mind, my will, what I want to do with my life, and my emotions. I'm expressing myself emotionally. That does not mean that I allow you to control my emotions while we're dating.
Yeah.
I just share my emotions with you. The person you're dating should be your best friend. But here's how you guard your heart. Don't give yourself away. The person you're dating does not control you. You're dating.
Right.
You can end that thing as quickly as you started it. Like, don't feel like you have a soul tie to someone just because you're sharing your soul with it. There's a big difference between creating a soul tie and just sharing yourself with somebody. They don't have to know every little thing about you. They don't need to have every single detail. You don't have to give them complete access from the start. Guard yourself by being safe and protecting who you are. We're going to talk about toxic relationships in a little bit, and we'll get a little more into that. But I just want to be very clear about the fact that we don't give ourselves away from when you're just dating, from a dating perspective. That's a really, really big deal. Can you talk about having patience with the other marriage? Yes, Dusty, we'll talk about that. But our God is a God of order. Okay, I want to go back to the laying yourself out in three parts. It says that 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, but be sure that everything is done decently and in order. That means your relationship too. Make sure that your relationship is done decently and in order. Okay, the order is, I'm going to let you know who I am. If we get engaged, let's say we decide that, man, this is working out. You're my best friend. I love spending time with you. I enjoy the time we have. I enjoy being away from you sometimes too, and that's okay.
Yes.
But we're going to get engaged. We're going to begin to take the next step. That's where you begin to share the spiritual side of your life with someone, and you can pray about your future, and you can begin to reveal what God has laid out for you. Because like, hey, if you're going to be here forever, I need you to know what God's doing in me. And obviously, from the dating perspective, you want to make sure you're not unequally yoked.
Yes.
That's easy to tell. I can tell from going to church with someone if I'm unequally yoked with them or not. I don't have to get deep spiritually to find that out. But once you get engaged, you can begin to begin to pray about things and begin to plan out your life together, knowing, and begin to open up more of yourself to that person, knowing that that is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And then when you get married, obviously that's where you give your body away and it gets physical. And so we won't get into that. But But that's my view on relationships, and I wouldn't say that it's necessarily perfectly biblical. It's just Dustin's point of view, and so if you have an issue with it, look it up in the Word. If I'm wrong, tell me. But that's how I see it.
We had a question about what verse is that? It's 1 Corinthians 14:40. Be sure that everything is done properly and in order.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 14.
Anything else you want to say about that, or should we jump on to the next question?
No, do you have something else to say about that? I took total charge of that question. I'll give you the next one. All right, I'll give you the next one.
Okay. How to celebrate differences when sometimes it seems that they push you apart.
You can totally take this one.
We are so opposite. Obviously, if you know the Enneagram, I'm a type 1, he's a type 7. If you don't, just think about two people who are polar opposites, and that's us. I'm extremely detailed, black and white, and he is not. I'm not. So there's a lot of things that we had to kind of figure out in the beginning of our relationship, and honestly are still working on, and always will be for the rest of our life, because it's an ongoing process that never ends. But I mean, I think one thing that we learned, so we did when we were engaged, we did some premarital counseling, and something that was taught to us that I carry with me all the time is to let each other be the expert in an area.
Real quick, premarital counseling was the greatest thing that ever happened to our marriage. And constant. We continue to counsel with couples. I mean, we continue to do that. And so marriage counseling is not a bad thing. It's a very healthy thing. Yeah. And do not, if you need counseling, seek counseling, go to counseling. Do not be ashamed of that. It is so healthy for your marriage. We avoided so many traps doing premarital counseling and being prepared for what we got into.
Yeah, or even if we didn't avoid them, like once they came, we recognized right away, like, okay, this is a trap. This is something that we need to attack head on. Yeah. So one of the things that we still work on is letting each other be the expert in an area. And so like one thing in our marriage, like because I am a more detailed person, I do the bill paying and the budgeting, and Dustin doesn't, because we probably wouldn't have a whole lot of money if he did.
Oh, it's so true.
He just wants to live it up and just spend it all.
Have a great time. Is it there? Let's spend it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So because of that, like there were a few times in our marriage that I think we kind of hit our heads on it, where he felt like, maybe he was out of the loop with the finances, or like maybe he didn't have as much of a say because I was the one that was doing the bill paying. And so it's like, okay, let me be the expert in that area, because I do care about this, and I do it well, but still like incorporating you and letting you be a part of it.
Well, allowing me to have an opinion.
Yeah.
That's what meant a lot. I felt like I didn't have an opinion in the matter. I felt like I couldn't spend money without asking. Or I felt like I was tied down or whatever. And so then it just created, we call them sore spots, just things that we wouldn't talk about that we were both concerned with, I guess, or frustrated by. And we could talk about that in just a moment. But I think that her giving me, and once we talked it through, her just giving me an opinion and saying, hey, I think we should or shouldn't do this or whatever, meant the world. Because I'm not a budget guy. I'm not going to run the budget. But she does it so well, and it doesn't stress her out to do it. It stresses me out. Like I wouldn't be able to sleep if I tried to do the budget. But just her giving me an opinion was huge.
Well, and then there's give and take in there as well. Like I do run the budget, but like we have an online app that we use. And so at any time he can jump on and see like where we're at with things, like, okay, like we spent this, there's wiggle room here, whatever. And so it just kind of takes the lid off and lets him in. But still, I know at the end of the day, I'm the one that needs to pay the bills. I'm the one that needs to do the sorting, of the stuff in the app and everything. And then on the flip side, like you get to be the expert of being the fun parent. I'm not the fun parent at all. He is. Even like cooking. I do cook because
and she's great at it. Don't let her fool you.
I just don't like it. I don't enjoy cooking. I don't care. I'm not a foodie. And so it's like peanut butter and jelly is for everybody. Like I'll eat peanut butter and jelly every day.
If it ain't hot, it ain't food, Yes. It's a snack. If it ain't hot, it's a snack.
That was a tough one for me to kind of hand over the reins on, I guess, because although I would say at least half of the cooking because I'm home more, maybe a little bit more than that. He's the expert in it. So at first, like in the beginning of our marriage, he would come home and, I'd be cooking and he'd come in the kitchen like, what are you making? What about this? What about this? And I felt like he was like critiquing my food. Like, is this not good enough for you? But in reality, he just cares a lot about food. Like, he's passionate about it. He's good at cooking. He's the type that can like grab whatever, throw it together, and it turns out amazing. And I'm so jealous of that. But I have to let him be the expert. So when he comes into the kitchen, it's like, what do you want to make? Whatever, even though I don't really care about it. And so I think that's a huge, huge thing, is just letting each other be the expert in an area.
And it takes humility, like, because a lot of times it's just pride. It's like, why do you feel like you need to cook every meal? It's like, well, because I'm the wife, and that's what the wife does.
Yes.
Like, no, not in our relationship. Our relationship doesn't have to look like, like maybe our parents, maybe that's how it was. I think with our parents, our dads probably take care of the cars and the outside stuff, and our moms take care of the home and the cooking and the cleaning and things like that. We aren't like that. I would say that's how your parents are, because her dad's an electrician. He can fix anything. And so he just handles all of that stuff. Whereas I grew up watching my dad cook and clean and things like that. And so he wasn't the handiest guy in the world, and neither am I. So we're figuring it out. My father-in-law helps me with that kind of stuff. But I think that we just work together a lot better with a lot of different things. And your mom is proud to take that role of cooking and cleaning and all that. She loves it. And so for me to be able to step in and say, hey, I want to help with this, it took humility for you to say, okay. And then it was like a relief. It's such a relief when you finally can let go of something.
Well, yeah. And you just look at, whatever the different areas of your marriage are. And it's like, okay, who's the expert here? Who's the expert here? And there's going to be a lot of areas that neither of you are the expert, or nobody wants to do it. And it's like, all right, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take this one for the team. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on sore spots? Because I feel like that was literally a game changer for our marriage.
Yeah, no, it was. We got to a point in our marriage early on, a year or two in, where we felt like we were supposed to be, still in like honeymoon phase, and it just got tough. Like we were fighting all the time. We're arguing. It was awkward, in the morning, there's awkward silence, and it's like, you're trying to avoid each other, and it's like, oh, excuse me, walk through the hallway or whatever. It's like, oh, and
you so we just, know
it just got like, there was just a funk over us. Like, it felt like constantly, and something small would come up and it turned into something huge. And it's like, we are not these people. Like, I hate confrontation. I am not that person. And so we finally just said, I don't think it was me by any means, but it was like, hey, we need to talk. Like, what is going on? And we sat down, and I am a diagnoser. Like, I don't know if that's a 7 thing or if it's just a me thing, but I am a diagnoser. Yeah. Like, I can look at a problem and say, this is why we're going through this. And I sat down and I said, this is why I feel like this because of this. I feel, and I tried to kind of diagnose, which was probably frustrating sometimes. But I tried to diagnose the issue. And what it came down to was, I just feel like I don't have control of this, and I don't need control. I just need you to care about my opinion. And it was like, we started talking about these sore spots, and sore spots for us were things that we refused to talk about, but we knew were an issue. And it's like, oh, we're just not going to go there.
Well, and sometimes it was for sake of like, I don't want to rock the boat, whatever, which I feel like always backfires.
It does.
Because you think you're being quiet about something to keep the peace, but then in reality, it just festers up, and then this wall is built, and then you have this resentment, and then you're like, why am I even feeling like this? Which I think is what got us to that place of just that tension. And it felt like it was for no reason, but in reality, it was like these things had become deep-seated. And so, we started this thing that we called sore spots. And so it's like, every now and then we would just sit down, and it's like, all right, like no holds bar, sore spots. What is going on? Like, what have I done that has rubbed you the wrong way? Because majority of the time, I think it was a miscommunication, or it was like, I would say something that came out brash, and to me, it didn't feel like it was brash, but to him, like it was like a stab in the heart, And so it's like, that was our just level playing field. Like, all right, let's just air it all out. And in a very civil way, we would talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we didn't fight well up to that point. And I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is that we feel like we fight really well. We feel like we argue really well. Yes, we have arguments all the time. Yes, we get in fights all the time. Like, we disagree about stuff constantly. We're exact opposites. It's like I do things that bug her every single day. But that's a chance for her to say, like, hey, can you please just care about your clothes on the floor? Like, can you please just pick your clothes up and put them in the hamper?
It's so close.
He puts that's 1 foot.
Any other wives have husbands like this, and it's like literally like the underwear right next to the hamper, like so close.
I'm sore. I just come back from the gym. I'm sore. I'm doing it for you, babe. It's for you. I'm sore for you. Okay. Oh man, but no, it just gives
sevens are also really good at coming up with excuses.
Yeah, just give us an opportunity to air that stuff out, and for me to say, hey, when you said this the other day, this is how I took it, and honestly, here's the deal: give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Here's what I know: I know that my wife doesn't hate me. I hope. I know that she's not trying to hurt me. Mm-hmm. I know that she's not trying to say something cutting, and so I give her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But if it continues to bug me, I go back and say, hey, just so you know, I don't think you meant it like this. But when you said this is how I felt. Mm-hmm. And this is how they made me feel. And I don't appreciate that. And then she's able to say, oh my gosh. Every time it's like, oh, that is not at all how I meant that. Or yeah, I meant it like that. I'm really sorry. I was frustrated by this. And so I said it like that and whatever. And so that just gives us the opportunity to air the dirty laundry and I don't want to say nag or be nitpicky, but it just like, we just talk about the things that you care about. Talk about what concerns you. Don't do it. And I actually put this in a different question, but don't revisit an issue or even visit an issue if it's just a pride deal. Like you want to win that conversation or you want to be the one that marriage is all about humility.
Yes.
It is. Healthy relationships are all about humility. And I mean, that's dating, engaged, married, whatever, friendships, leadership. It's all about humility. And so we've got to serve one another well and realize that we are on the same team.
Yeah.
That is huge.
We say that in our house all the time.
Same team. Our kids say it.
Especially like if the kids are around and, like kids are, you don't want to argue in front of kids. And so it's like, there's so many times that something will happen and, we'll get edgy with each other and it's just like, same team.
I'll get the look.
Same team.
I get the look. I'm like, same team, babe, same team, right? Same team. But for real, remember in a relationship, you are on the same team. You're fighting for the same goal. You want your marriage as healthy as your spouse wants it.
Yeah.
They want your marriage as healthy as you do. So realize that when you're in a riff or you feel like there's underlying issues, whatever, deal with it. Yeah. You've got to live with that person forever. Don't walk away from the issues. Deal with the issues. Yeah. Hit them head on and communicate about it and be honest with them.
Well, they're not going anywhere. So if you don't deal with them, they're just going to continue to sit there. And then another one will probably pile on top, another one. And then you've got this mountain of issues. Whereas if you just hit them as they come, your marriage is so much more peaceful and so much more enjoyable.
Yes. I'm going to skip these. We're going to come back to a couple of dating questions in just a moment. And that's probably for our students that we definitely want to come back to those. But real quick, I want to talk about what do you do if you're in a disagreement and you can tell that one of them has checked out. Go ahead. I'm ready for her to answer this one. You know what I'm saying?
He's saying that because he knows I'm the guilty party here. So before
she's the checker outer, if you will.
Before we learned to fight better, not that it's not still a work in progress because it is, I was the checker outer. So I used to have a really bad temper. And are you here?
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm answering another question. Or I'm reading another question. Sorry, keep going.
Squirrel. And so I would tend to like just blow up, like we'd get mad at each other about something and then it's like 0 to 10 and, I just
0 to 12
would freak out about something. And so because of that, I was trying to counteract it, but I ended up going the complete opposite. And so, something would come up, we'd get in an argument and then I would just, for sake of not like saying something that I regretted, I would just like shut down and be completely quiet, which was not the right answer either. So go ahead. And then
man, listen, I did not handle it well. Okay. Some of you may have heard this story, but I am super sarcastic and I used to be. I'm not anymore. Learned my lesson. We got into an argument. We got into an argument one time and she shut down and then she didn't because I pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And I'm like, no, let's talk about it. Let's get to it. Like here we, whatever. And she finally talked about it and it was a hard conversation. I'll say that. And so she's raising her voice. I don't want to raise our voice in our home ever. And so we're dating.
Just tell them what you said.
Anyways, I was like, oh, hey, you know what we could do? And I'm totally calm. I'm like, hey, listen, babe, here's what we could do. We could like raise our voice and get all upset and talk to each other like we're 12-year-olds and just get angry and say mean things. Or we could just handle this like responsible adults and sit and talk and actually communicate with one another. It didn't work. That didn't work.
I feel my blood pressure rising right now.
That didn't work. And so we had to figure out how to communicate with one another. Like, how does Heather need me to communicate with her? I want to communicate the way she needs me to, not the way I want to.
Yeah.
And she needs to communicate the way that so here's what you do. If you're in a fight and one of you is checked out, just put it on the shelf for a moment. Mm-hmm. Allow them to check out for a moment. Like, allow them to settle and then go back to it and say, hey, and here's the deal. I said never revisit something if it's out of pride. Don't revisit it if it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it's something minuscule, you don't have to revisit it. If it's something meaningful and you care about it, then you need to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so go back and say, hey, listen, I know that you got upset earlier and I know that you were done talking about it, but I'd really like to revisit that thing because I really care about it. And I want you to care about it too. Mm-hmm. And I just, will you just bear with me and just hear me out on this? And so we can talk about it and you can communicate with them that you realize they're checked out. It's like, hey, I get it. I know that you don't care about this as much, but can you care about it for me? Mm-hmm. Like, can you care about my interest too? Because that's a big deal in marriage, right? Like, we want to care. But listen, I don't care about the bloggers Heather follows. I don't care about some of the shows she wants to watch, but I do because she does. Naturally, I don't care. She doesn't care about sports. She doesn't care about the life-size Michael Jordan poster that I have in my office. She doesn't care about the records on my wall. Like, yeah. But she doesn't care about the things that I care about. But she does because I do. She cares about me. She cares about me enough to say, hey, I'm going to take an interest in what you care about. Hey, I'm going to talk this out because you care about it. Mm-hmm. And that's another aspect of humility. You need to be humble enough to say, hey, I really don't want to revisit this, but I will because I love you. And if you need to talk about it, then let's talk about it.
Well, and I think it's finding that middle grounds too. For Dustin, he wants to immediately hash it out and just get to the solution and then act like it never happened and just move on. Yes. And for me, I tend to be like, oh my gosh, I just don't even want to talk about it right now because I'm just so heated. And so for us, we found that our middle grounds was just give me 5, just give me 10 minutes. And so it's like that gave me a chance to step away, settle my emotions because I'm in control of my emotions. If I'm flying off the handle, that's on me. That's not on him. That's on me. And so it gives me a chance to settle things in my heart, come back and talk in a calm manner, not saying something that I might regret saying.
Yeah. And sometimes that me being willing to say, hey, you know what? I can tell you're getting upset. Let's talk about this later. Let's come back to this. Let's revisit this. Sometimes that's all it needed.
Yeah.
Like that was all the effort she needed from me was to say, hey, let's come back to this. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I don't mean to push it. I can see you getting red in the face. I can see you clenching your fist. I see the nail marks in your palms. Let's go ahead and show this.
They're just like, these poor people are just like picturing us in our kitchen.
And I'm just like, yeah, if you go lucky, I'm saying, hey, no, I'm kidding. But me just saying that was enough for you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, then she takes 5 minutes and says, hey, I'm really sorry. Hey, this is what you did to tick me off. And just so you know, that really ticks me off. You should never do that again. But let's put that, why in the world are we fighting about this? And then we're able to just get past it.
Yeah.
And that's all the humility it takes is just saying, hey, I'm going to give you 5. Hey, I'm going to give you an hour. Hey, and we, now that we're married, we don't go to bed angry. So we've been up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Really late, early.
Maybe a couple all-nighters.
Yeah, a couple all-nighters. And just like, no, we need to talk about this. We need to work this out. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes that's what it takes. And when you're dating, that may look different for you. And you may need to shove it for a little bit. But that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so
what else do we have? I know there's lots of questions that have come in and we've kind of skimmed past them.
Yeah. We're a little past. We're not going to go over an hour, guys, I promise. And so if you've got the time, bear with us. We've got a few other questions coming in. But I do want to go back and touch a couple of questions that we got this weekend on dating. So we're going to visit dating real quick and listen, if you feel like I'm not doing marriage right, I'm not like what you guys are talking about, like if that's legit, I haven't done this right. Please take every bit of what we're saying about dating, about being engaged, about being married. Don't think that you've failed because you've been married for 10, 12, 20, 30 years, 2 years, whatever, and haven't done what we're talking about, or don't communicate as well as we're acting like we communicate every single time. You know what I mean? Listen, we don't communicate perfectly every time.
No.
We don't fight perfectly every time. This is taking trial and error and error and error and error to get to where we are, and we're still improving every day.
Just do something. Just take a step toward better. Just better your marriage, your engagement, your relationship, whatever it is. Just do something.
Yes. And so if you need to start, when we talk about dating, if you're like, I never did that. Start now. Yeah. Start now. Start in the relationship you're in, whether that's dating, engaged, married, single. Start now. You can apply these things right now.
You should always date your spouse anyways.
Yep. So I want to talk about really quick. It's what is it? How do you recover from a recent breakup? And then we're going to go from here to talking about being in an unhealthy relationship, which then you should probably break up and then talk about what we talked about before. So
we'll kind of hit these ones pretty quick.
Yeah. So here's the deal. If you've just gone through a breakup and you feel like your heart is broken and your soul is heavy, Psalm 34, 17, 18 says this. I'm going to read it so I get it exactly right. It says, the Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from all of their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Listen to that. The Lord is close to you when you are brokenhearted. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. If you feel like your spirit is crushed, if you feel like you are brokenhearted, please know the Lord cares about you. Mm-hmm. He is close to you. You can reach out to him and know that he's right here. He is right here with you. He lives on the inside of you. The Holy Spirit is there to communicate with you, to bring you joy, to bring you peace. He's called the Comforter for a reason. God wants to comfort you in your pain. Mm-hmm. And God sent him to you. The Holy Spirit is as much God as God is. The Holy Spirit is as much God as Jesus was. He is the third part of that perfect Trinity. Let him comfort you.
And can I just say, I think this is applicable to more than just a recent breakup.
Yes.
Maybe this is a recent breakup. Maybe this is a recent divorce, or maybe you've been widowed, or maybe you're in a marriage, but you feel brokenhearted.
Yeah.
I think that this applies to all of those.
God can and will heal your heart.
Yeah.
Our God is the healer. Yes. And your marriage, my gosh. All right, listen, our marriage needed healing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Our marriage needed healing a year in.
Yeah.
And we had to walk out some things in order to get to a place where we felt like that healing really taking place. God was ready. God was ready to heal us like that.
Yeah.
But we weren't ready. we weren't ready to receive it. And so we had to walk some of those things out for sure. So just know that God wants to heal you. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Read scripture. Listen, we live in a technology age. You can Google scriptures for the brokenhearted, scriptures for peace. Scriptures, Google those things and read the word over yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so important too to surround yourself with wise counsel. Be careful about who you're listening to, who you're letting speak into your heart, really. I mean, actually on the call last night, I think Jenna hit on this a little bit at service last night, just talking about being careful about who's speaking into your life. And when you're going through a hard time, whether it's being brokenhearted or anything in life, really make sure you're seeking out people who are seeking the Lord, because they're not going to point you in the wrong direction. If you're taking advice from people who aren't seeking the Lord, you're not taking good advice.
Yeah, definitely surround yourself with people who are going to speak encouragement to you. Don't isolate yourself. The worst thing you can do when you're brokenhearted is to isolate yourself. And some of you, Heather is the type of person where she wants to be alone. Like, you want to be alone, right? You want to read a good book and not be around people. And that's how she felt. We are hosters. We love to have people over. When the people leave our house, I am like freaking out, pumped. Let's do that again. That was the most amazing night of my life. I'm so excited. I'm not going to sleep tonight. And she's like, shut the door. I'm going to clean the dishes and I'm going to sleep. Like, she is exhausted by people, and I am energized by people. So you need to do what's best for you, but allowing yourself to be alone and heal and isolating yourself are two different things. Yeah. And so, yes, allow yourself time to heal, but also surround yourself with people who care about you. Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you, and then encourage yourself in the Lord as well. One of the things that I say all the time is that a spouse or someone that you're dating, even to the point of marriage, is that spouse is meant to complement you, not complete you. You are not completed by the person you are with. You are complemented. Heather does not complete me. Our life does not, our love, does not complete me. I am complete and whole in who I am in God. I was a complete man of God before we met. She makes me better. She compliments me. She challenges me. A spouse is meant to compliment you and not complete you. So please remember that. Where is your identity? Getting out of a breakup, going into a relationship, being in a relationship, where is your identity found? Because if your identity was found in that person, that's going to be much harder to get over than if your identity was found in you as a couple. It's going to be much harder to get over. Let's say it's a breakup than it is if your identity is found in Christ. And it's like, listen, that person complimented me well, but I'm going to find somebody else that can compliment me better, or whatever that may be in your life. Please know that you cannot find your identity. That is not a weight that Heather should bear to what am I trying to say?
To be responsible for your
well-being. She should not be responsible for my well-being. That is too much weight for her to bear. She should not be responsible for my identity and my happiness and my joy and my peace. She's not responsible for that. I'm responsible for that. And I have given God burden. That's what I was looking for. I have given God that burden. His yoke is easy. His burden is light, right? So I'm going to give that to Jesus and say, hey, you are not responsible to make me happy. I am happy outside of what you do or don't do. But I want to have a great relationship, and our relationship would be a lot better if we could do or not do these things, right?
And again, that just takes the weight off. It takes the pressure off when I'm realizing he is not my responsibility. He is my partner. We're doing life together. We're growing together. Team. We're both, same team. We're both seeking God together. He is challenging me and making me better. If you're in a relationship with someone who isn't striving after God, who isn't challenging you and causing you to constantly step up to the plate and grow, then what the heck is the point? I think that kind of goes into our next question. But we'll just go on to the next one because I feel like they kind of tie together. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move on to how do you know if you're in an unhealthy relationship? First things first. I talked about dating earlier. Who you're dating. When you're dating, now, when you're married, we don't control each other either, but we do have much more of a say in each other's life. When you're dating, that person does not control you. Do not allow them to control you. If you're dating and someone says, well, if you loved me, you would, or, well, no. Deuces, we're out. Or if there is ever physical or emotional abuse, get out. You are not there to fix that person. You are not there to heal that person. That is God's job. Oh, we lost light. Allow God to do that in their life. You are not responsible for their well-being. You're responsible for your heart and for your life and for what God is doing in you. The person that you marry, that like Pastor Bill always talks about how he prayed over his kids, that they would marry the right person. The person that you marry should help you achieve what God has called you to do. They should complement you in your race that you are running for God. They should not be pulling you away from it. That person should be building you up and making sure that you are growing in your relationship with God, not taking away from it. So if there's ever one of those two things, run. Yes, that's a toxic relationship. That's unhealthy. A healthy relationship is you two seeking God. One of the things I tell our students all the time is don't give your heart away. Give your heart to God, so that when you find someone that says, hey, if you want to get closer to me, if you want my heart, you've got to run after God. And if you're pursuing God, then you're attaining my heart. If you're pursuing what God has for you, then you're going to attain the things in me that I've given over to God. And if we can give ourselves to God, then you don't have to give your heart away. That person can run after it. And it's not something that you're giving away either. It's something that they are constantly trying to, I don't want to say earn, that's a bad way to say it, but they are striving after, and they're saying, hey, I'm going to seek God. And as I find God, I'll reveal more of yourself will be revealed to me as well.
That's so good. I think you hit the nail on the head.
You want to talk about not just being unhealthy, but what's God's best for you?
I mean, yeah, that was basically it. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, the foundation of your relationship, if the foundation isn't Christ, then that's not God's best for you. If you're not both striving after him and what he has called you to walk out in this life, then it's not his best for you. Yeah, it's not just about having a healthy relationship. It's about having God's best. Yeah. And that's why Heather said, be picky. And be picky, always. Did you have another one that came in?
I did. Some people, we have about 10 minutes here. We have people wanting to expound on sore spots. It says, can you talk more about how to graciously communicate sore spots? It's very hard to bring those things up when you're opposites. It is hard.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of our issue, is that there was no easy way to bring it up because they're tough conversations. Nobody wants to have tough conversations, but the growth that happens after the tough conversations is totally worth it. So that's why we just put a label on it and called it what it was. We said like, all right, this is sore spots. And so we would carve out time, we put our kids to bed and then it's like, all right, hey, let's talk about sore spots tonight. And then we would just sit down and it's like, it wasn't like, hey, like trying to figure out how to weasel in this conversation because we knew what the point of the conversation was. And so,
but here's the deal. We were both on board and that's not always the case. You may be in a relationship where you feel like you want to talk about it, you want to go there and your spouse doesn't. And so you have to be able to communicate the end goal, keep the end goal in mind and communicate to the person that you're with. Hey, there's a point to this. One of the ways we talk about correction is plus minus plus with our kids, right? I'm going to compliment you and tell you what I loved that you did. Then I'm going to correct what you did wrong. And then I'm going to praise you at the end and say, hey, that's not who you are. What you did wrong isn't who you are. And so we never say like, you're such a, or you, it's like, no, hey, when you did this, this is how I felt. What she does is not who she is. What your spouse does is not who they are. We need to be able to communicate the fact that we can separate what they do from who they are. And so it's that plus minus plus. You say, hey, I love you and I want our marriage to be great. And I'm not being the best spouse that I can be because I've got these things that are bugging me. And so can we talk about it? Can we talk about some things that bug me? Because I want to be the best spouse for you that I can be. And I'd be a better spouse if we could have this conversation.
I think that's something that you've gotten really good at. When he comes to me from that perspective, like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this, or this isn't settling well in me or whatever, it immediately, like, he's taking the heat on himself. So I don't feel attacked. Like if he came at me and it's like, we need to talk because you blah, 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 immediately I'm on the defense.
It's how you say it.
Yes.
It's not just what you say.
You tell me that all the time.
It is how you say it. And I'm not always good with what I say, but I try to be really good at how I say it. And so I always try to approach it well. And sometimes I'm too, I beat around the bush too much, but you've got to find that middle ground where you can communicate what you're feeling, but also communicate the benefit to that person of talking about it. Because like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go there. Like, it's pointless. Like, no, it's not. Because I'll be better for you if we talk about it. Yeah. It'll be better for us as a couple if we can talk about this thing.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal.
Yeah, that's so good.
Anything else that we got a couple more questions coming in.
There was a ton of questions that came in at the beginning that we kind of missed because we were going off. If you have a question that we haven't answered, go ahead and drop it. We only have about 5 minutes left before we're going to sign off. But if you guys have anything else, we'll try and hit it as quickly as we can. Did you see any other?
Yeah, we have one about it says, hey, when all around you says move on, but God has placed a word on your heart to stand no matter what, that's his kingdom. Listen, you always go with the word.
Yeah.
Always go with the word. Always go with the word that God has placed in your heart. We are moved by peace. And a lot of times, you look at the Israelites and they were moved by a cloud, or they were moved by the fire, right? And when the cloud moved, they moved. And when your peace moves, you move. And so if you have peace about moving on to something, then move it. If you don't have peace about moving, then having done all to stand. Yeah. That's what we do. Having done all to stand, we stand there for, and we fight. And if fight for your marriage, fight for your relationship, fight for who you are in Christ, fight for yourself as a single person. Like, you need to be able to stand on God's word and say, no, I am going to do what God has called me to do. Being patient in marriage, man, patience. You want to touch on this? I just go back to humility. Like, patience needs to come from a place of humility. I can be patient with her because, like I said before, I know her intentions. And we clearly communicate our intentions. And it's like, when she does something that bugs me, I can go to her and say, hey, can you please not do that? And it's like, I don't know how to better say that, but communicate your intentions and be on the same team. Like, your patience needs to manifest itself in knowing that, hey, we're on the same team. We have one goal in mind, and that goal is to have the healthiest marriage possible. That goal is to raise kids that are in a home where when they walk in, they have peace, and they want to bring their friends there. And we want to be the party house. We want to be the house that all of our kids want to bring their friends to. And so we want to make sure that our home, when you walk in, it's a place of peace and a place of humility where we can talk about anything and we are unoffendable.
Yeah.
And we are able to hash out anything and know that we're not going to get out of control. We're not going to get heated and scream at each other. We're not going to, not talk to each other for days on end, but we are going to be open and honest, and it's a safe place. That's what I want to communicate. Our home is a safe place. Your home should be a safe place. Your marriage should be a safe place to have a conversation. And if it's not, start now.
And I think more than anything, it comes back to daily renewing your mind.
Yes.
Because you can muster up all your own might and courage and say, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be patient. But if you're not renewing your mind, if you're not leaning on the Holy Spirit to give you that strength day in and day out, because there's opportunities every day to be patient or to not,
yes,
you're going to fail miserably. And we still fail because we're human. But my goodness, the days that I spend more time in the Word, the days that, I really just seek the Lord and renewing my mind before anything else, my day looks completely different. And whether that's with my kids, homeschooling my kids, or whether that's with us in our marriage, and there's times midday, it's like, shoot, I just need to go get quiet for a while because I can feel it. And I think sometimes for girls, it tends to be that way even more because we do have hormones raging, and sometimes I think our emotions can get away from us a little bit easier, which means it's even more important for us to get a handle on it. And so step away. If you feel like your fuse is getting short, take a second, step away, pray in the Spirit, get in the Word, and then ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Man, that's a huge one too. We do it with our kids too. There's times that we have gotten short, many times that we've gotten short with the kids or with each other. And we've come back and just said hey, that was wrong. I shouldn't have reacted that way. I shouldn't have said this. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? And that's something that we always ask for forgiveness. We make our kids ask for forgiveness with each other too. When Israel says, I'm sorry to Jericho, he has to say, I forgive you.
Yep.
Because when you're saying things, there's power in our words. And so saying that you forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. And so when you say it, you're immediately turning your heart posture in that direction.
That's
and
so
it starts flowing out of you. And the rest of your day starts lining up in that way. Your attitude starts lining up in that way. And so I think that's what it boils down to more than anything.
That's so good. Pastor Sandy just said, fight for your marriage.
Yes.
There's nothing we can communicate more than fight for your marriage. Don't fight for your voice to be heard. Don't fight for your opinion. Don't fight for your own place. Fight for your marriage as a whole. Fight for you as a couple. You are one team. We are the Millers. We are one team, and we have one goal. And that is to populate heaven and to have be the greatest example that we can be to the people around us, to example Christ in everything that we do. Fight for your marriage as a whole, one couple.
It's so worth the fight.
We have 3 minutes. I'm going to touch on this last question. This is great. How do you approach sore spots with parents? Coming from a student. Again, we're the USC director. So students, how do you approach sore spots in someone that's not you're not in a relationship with? It's your parents or it's a friend or whatever.
That's good.
Man, I am just such a huge proponent of, if you will communicate clearly and communicate the end goal, that is the best way to approach all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't come at your parents like you did, or you don't ever point fingers. Come from a place of humility where you say, hey, mom, dad, can we talk about something? I think I would so respect and honor my kids if our kids are 6 and 4 and 1, so they're not going to do that now. But when we get to the point where our kids do have a riff with us or whatever, if they would come to me and say, hey, mom, dad, can I talk to you guys? Can we talk about this? Even if I think they're wrong and nothing's going to change, I just appreciate the fact that they were mature enough to say, I just want to have a conversation about it. Can we just, and if you go to your parents in a respectful way and say, hey, can we have a conversation about this? When you do this, I feel like this, or I feel like I should be able to take on a little more responsibility when it comes to this, or I feel like maybe, I'm responsible enough to be able to stay out a little bit later, not right now, but whatever that thing is, whatever that is that you want to talk about, if you'll go to your parents and humbly say, hey, I am willing for you to say no, be quiet, go to your room. But I just want to have the conversation. I just want to hear you say what you think. And I just need you to maybe hear my voice on this as well. Allow yourself to do that to your parents, and whenever the adult speaks, that's it. Yeah. Listen to your parents, honor the adult in the room.
And I think that translates even into your adult life. There have been times that with our parents, we've had to sit down and have hard conversations. But when we've approached it with the right heart and prayed up before and got ourselves and our own desires and motives out of the way and approached it from an end goal perspective, it always worked out.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, guys, we could talk literally all day
All day.
about relationships, and there's just so much to say, but thank you for tuning in. Thank you for keeping us company on our lunch break. Hope you have an amazing week, and we will see you on Sunday.
Yes. We love you guys, church. We will see you Sunday. Look at that. 59 minutes. We crushed it.
Bye.
See you guys.
Oh.
No, shut this down. Finish. What's this one? How do we check on YouTube? Oh, and Instagram. Peace.
All right.